Oh man, my bad. I'm so sorry about that. Hey, I'm JayDreamerZ, everybody. So here's what happened. First of all, they changed some stuff on me, so it was different. I had to figure it out. I figured it out. Then I got caught up watching my own intro, but I was watching it on YouTube, just like you guys. So it's probably a few seconds of black screen there where like nothing's happening, because for you all, it's like 30 seconds behind me talking, or 15, 30 seconds. So I was just watching the intro because everyone was talking about it. So all right, good, great, we got all that craziness out of the way, right? Okay, so today we're going to be talking. Today is Ancient Oblivion Monday, and thanks a lot everybody for helping me out there, letting me know it was not working to begin with. Mother Dragon, Loon Through the Ether, Evan Scorpio, Root I Am Groot, Semyaza, and much more in the chat. Gem Mama Puddle Duck says fire. Hey, thanks for the kind words about the intro, everybody. I think it's okay. Like, I did spend a lot of time on it, but I think it could be better. So I'm probably going to be revamping the intro. Anyhow, so here's what we do. If you're new to my channel, we're going through some slight changes today, or lately actually, as I try to get everything a little bit more professional while still being myself. Anyway, so on this day, we talk about Ancient Oblivion. What is Ancient Oblivion, JayDreamerZ? Well, Ancient Oblivion is the time in our past. A lot of people refer to it as hidden history, but I feel like there's so much more to it than just hidden history, as if it's all been hidden and none of it has been forgotten, right? I think a lot of it has been forgotten. I talk about that a lot as an aspect of the plasma apocalypse. But today, we kind of focus on stuff like the ancient elven race and the titans and mud fossils and like the way that things once were in the so-called Stone Age, or the Age of Stone. And I think it was way vastly different back then. And I wanted to talk to you guys about some stuff. First of all, I get a lot of my inspiration from stuff I watch, stuff that I come across in my daily grind. And quite frequently, it's Ancient Aliens. Believe it or not, I'll watch Ancient Aliens with Jenny, and I have her pause that show like, I don't know, at least 10 different times while I add my own little commentary on top of theirs, right? Which is great, because I also love the characters, the guys that are on that show. They crack me up, and I would love to be on that show. If you're watching Giorgio Tsoukalos, talking to you, buddy. I'm just kidding. Anyway, I'm totally not kidding. I want to be on the show. Anyway, I have a lot to add to that show, I feel like, because they're kind of going over the same stuff over and over and over. And I feel like there's so much more flavor that I could add, bring to the table and give them a little extra stuff to talk about and maybe consider as far as implications of these ancient aliens. But anyhow, enough about me. Britt, hey, Britt's in the chat today. And Stephanie McGuire. That's great. Thank you. Unlearn the system. Hey, what's up, everyone? All right, so check this out. Today, last time, they had actually shown some dolmen. And if you don't know what a dolmen is, it's basically this house right here. It's the Flintstone house. And we're going to go over some pictures and stuff like that. I'm going to share with everyone. Let me go ahead and just get the pictures pulled up here. All right, so this is in the background. This is a dolmen. Let me go ahead and just scooch this over a bit. There we go, so you can see Barney. Now, as a part of research for this particular episode, I was actually researching the history of the Flintstones, because I find it to be a very interesting little piece of the puzzle. I did a video about the Smurfs and how the Smurfs are a true story. I'm going to declare today the Flintstones are also a true story, and I'll tell you why. Now, the subject of this video is not just the Flintstones, but specifically their house, the dolmen. And it's funny because I thought it was called Dolem. So for the longest time, I was pronouncing it incorrectly, but it's dolmen. What are the dolmens? So let's check this out. Let me go ahead and flip to the next picture here. All right, so before we get into the dolmen, actually, let's take a step back and start at square one. First, to kick things off, we're talking about the Flintstones, right? You all know who the Flintstones are. They're pretty much the opposite of the Jetsons, right? Especially if you grew up in the 80s or the 90s. Or even the 70s. I don't know. I don't even know if they're still popular these days. But everyone knows, Fruity Pebbles and Flintstone Vitamins, stuff like that, right? Basically, the Flintstones are supposed to be this cartoon about cavemen and cavewomen, right? But there's a huge problem with this, right? It's not really about cavemen and cavewomen. When we grew up and we went to school, we were basically taught and given the impression that cavemen are stupid. Basically, right? Like that they don't have the intellect that we have today. I beg to differ. I will differ. I don't believe they're stupid whatsoever. I believe the cavemen are basically us not too long from now, because there's the plasma apocalypse that comes through, resets the world, and sends us all back into an age of stone. And mud fossils have a lot to do with that, and the petrification of our world have a lot to do with that. But let's check out the Flintstones here. Now, if they were cavemen, in the truest sense of how we've been taught in academia, right? We wouldn't expect them to have things like this. This is technology, basically, that's been revamped, right? You've got a sort of technology here, a sort of mechanics going on. They understand how these things are supposed to look. They understand how they're supposed to work, but they don't quite have the technology that they used to have. Now, I'm going to talk about the Flintstones under a timeline that is non-linear, okay? My timeline that I go by is circular, if not spherical, which means that time repeats itself. So here's what I'm proposing. Remember I did the video about the steampunk survivors of the plasma apocalypse? That's what I'm saying about the Flintstones. They are basically steampunk survivors of the worldwide reset without the steam. Right? So when the reset comes, throws us all back into an age of stone, all the technology is gone or displaced or doesn't work, and people go scavenging, picking up leftovers of what they can find, right? And they do the best. They do the best with what they can. Although I know what a cell phone is, or a smartphone, or a computer, if I was thrown instantly into an age of stone and rock after some sort of an apocalyptic scenario, I wouldn't know how to make one, right? I'd know about the same size. I'd know their function. I'd know what it's supposed to do and what I'd like it to do, but I don't know how to make a cell phone. You know what I mean? We would have to build our way back up to that technology, starting at square one, and quite possibly try to pick up some of the leftovers from the ancient time of the gods that we live in now and reverse engineer those things, right? Which is why so many people in prominent positions of power throughout the world have had little quests, all right? Little secret groups under government protection where they would send them out to find these artifacts, right? Usually they're holy artifacts, but what they really are is technology that they want to get their hands on. Jessica Coker says, JayDreamer, so glad you're doing a show on the Flintstones, expounding on the series. Keep doing what you do. We appreciate you and Jenny. Aw. Well, that's really sweet. I like that you included Jenny too, because, you know, she's my inspiration. All right, so let's check out another picture here. The Flintstones. Technology all over the place. It's just, you know, they don't have like a power source. They don't have electricity, or they don't have steam power or anything. So what they do is they start using like, you know, manpower or animal power or phantazoid power, which I'll be sharing with you all. They even have a television. How is this even a concept? Now, okay, for those of you who are new to my channel, okay, calm down. Just chill. All right. I know it's just a cartoon. I know. But what you don't know is it's not just a cartoon. Okay. Nothing is just anything. Everything reflects reality. Everything reflects our greater, grander story. Our story together from beginning to end, and repeated over and over again. It's the never-ending story, and that's what it reflects. Mother Dragon's in the chat and says the people of the Flintstones pretty much got the short end of the stick in the plasma apocalypse, while those in the Jetsons escaped it. The clouds or mist or fallout separate them. I have heard that theory before, and I like that theory, honestly. All right, so check this out. They're watching TV. They have at least the concept of TV. And as you can see, like, they don't live in a cave. Yes, they live in a house that's made of rock, and they have furniture made of rock. Everything's made of rock. Why? Well, because everything was sucked up during the plasma apocalypse, and basically our world turned into a big, muddy, clay-filled mess, and they worked with what they had left over. I mean, it's pretty much that simple. However, it also means that these particular people right here were survivors that were able to retain their memories of the past. Some people will get amnesia. I believe a lot of people actually will get amnesia, completely forgetting a lot about the prior world, even themselves, even their family members. But some people will not, and those people will retain the information, and those people will go on to keep that information a secret and form societies and brotherhoods, etc. Now, does that sound anything like... Do you think Fred and Barney are maybe involved in some sort of secret brotherhood or something where they have secrets? I think so. And I'm waiting for somebody in the chat to say it. Anyhow, yes, they totally do. Yeah, so here's them on like a Da Vinci type helicopter dealie. So they have information, you know. Clearly they have jewelry. They understand clothing. This dude's wearing a tie, man. Like, why would he be wearing a tie? It's not just like taking modern day and saying, "Oh, that'd be cool if we mixed elements of modern day with like the cavemen and how they lived back a long time ago." That comes from somewhere. Yeah, it's an interesting concept, but why is it interesting? Because it's true. There will come a time when we will go through a worldwide reset and we will some of us will keep our understanding of the way the world once was, and we will try to emulate that. But we're going to be, the only thing we'll have to use to emulate that will be sticks and stones, basically, right? And clay. Semyaza says, JayDreamerZ, Mr. Slate's gravel yard was actually NASA. Okay. I'm going to have to give that one a thought. Yeah, Maria Becco says, huge hats with horns. That's right. So it was... hey, she got it. Maria Becco's got it. It was water buffaloes. You're right. That was their secret organization. That was basically the Illuminati, okay? That was basically like the Freemasons, okay? They have the Freemasons in The Simpsons. They have the Freemasons in... I mean, at least versions of it. But we all know what it is, right? But my point here is that they kept this understanding. Let me blow this one up a little bit. They kept their understanding of technology, and they're not supposed to have this because they're cavemen, basically. Oops, I did not mean to click on that. All right, that's totally my fault. I'm trying to make the picture bigger here. There we go. That's a little bit better. But yeah, look at all this technology. And I mean, they got a clock in here. They've got a fan. They've got a big screen TV in essence with speakers. The kids have toys. This is a modern day house, not a Stone Age house. Okay. There is knowledge of mechanics. There's knowledge of technical aspects of electronics and things and how they're supposed to work. They have phones, you know, and it's not that these things are just made up. We understand this already, that nothing is actually truly 100% made up and has no truth in it whatsoever. Everything has truth. They had cars. Look at this. Now, I know he's supposed to be using his feet, right? But the concept of a car is right there. And nobody questions this. Well, I've never seen anybody question this. I'm sure a lot of people have. But like the question that begs to be asked is, where did they get all of the information about these devices and how to make them? You know what I mean? Because this is not how the Stone Age has ever been portrayed to us. So this is kind of revolutionary and daring and bold for them to do something like this. And I believe that the reason it's been so accepted is because it was a lot different than what we're normally taught in schools. And when you watch cartoons, by the way, you're being taught, okay? Nothing is pure mindless entertainment. No, you're being taught on a constant basis. Whether you're cognizant of what's being taught or not is up to you, right? All right, let me check this other thing out here. Let's check out the house. Let's get back to the subject at hand, which is the dolmen. Oh, Unlearned Systems in the chat and says, was that a Sasquatch in the window? I don't know. Let me check it out. Where? Oh, up here? Oh, no. Back here? This is like a woolly mammoth back here. That's the dude. That's the animal. I mean, it's probably a Fantazoid or something. I mean, they did have woolly mammoths, but that's the animal that they used to wash their dishes. So that's what they did, is they sort of employed the animals to help them out. Well, why would the animals be so willing to help out these people and do all these jobs? Maybe it's because after the plasma apocalypse, many people are able to speak with animals telepathically, as if they were people too. Imagine that, right? Oh, by the way, before I forget this, I just want to throw out something that's sort of non-related. I was at this store earlier today, and I bought this magazine, like way overpriced magazine, only because it talked about tardigrades, right? And if you don't know my channel, basically tardigrades for me, they exist on a microscopic scale, and they exist on the macroscopic scale, okay? Just like in Ant-Man, you know how he goes super small and there's a giant tardigrade. There's also a giant tardigrade in Star Trek. I believe giant tardigrades actually exist. And so anyhow, I bought this crazy overpriced magazine just because it had some tardigrades in it. And then they were talking about how there's tardigrades everywhere, right? And they're in vegetables, they're in fruits, they're in moss, they're on trees and stuff. So I thought about this and I was like, wow, you know, the vegetarians of the world and the vegans of the world must not have thought about the fact that they're literally eating hundreds of tiny animals every time they take a bite, basically. I thought that was kind of funny. Although, to each their own. So I don't want to start an argument about, you know, what people eat or anything like that. I just think it's kind of interesting. All right, so let's move forward here. Let's go back to the house. This is the house, the Dolmen house. See what it is? It's not like a big spherical rock that they just carved out. It's actually a slab. You can see the front slab. There's probably a back slab back here, and then there's a flat slab on top. Now they added a little chimney there for effect, and they added a little garage dolmen right there as well. But this is their house, right? This, if we came up to this, right? Let's say 1,000 years had passed. Flintstones are dead and gone. I know, sad, right? But this door would most likely not be here, right? All this grass and shrubbery and maybe some of this wall, a lot of it would not be here, including the chimney. I mean, a lot of it would have blown down through storms and weathering and stuff. But you may have the main skeletal structure of the house. Now that we do have in our world today. That's called the dolmen, right? Now the dolmen is basically, they are these megalithic structures. Jessica Coker's in the chat. She says, JayDreamerZ, it's funny they are celebrating Christmas, the body of someone who wasn't born yet. I have no idea what you're talking about. Hold on. Did I miss something? They're celebrating Christmas? Sorry, you lost me on that one. I'm going to have to get back to that comment. Wait, did I miss anybody's comments? Oh, yeah. So no Sasquatch in the window. All right. So these are dolmen, by the way. So these are megalithic structures. Basically, the dolmen usually is a couple of slabs, maybe more than one, characteristically having a flat rock roof top to it. Okay. Now, let me tell you something why this kind of like really gets to me. Okay. This really gets to me because they are always described as being graves or tombs. What kind of grave is this? What kind of tomb is this, right? Let's check out another one. I've got a few pictures of these things, right? I'm sorry, but I've been to quite a few graveyards. I did a video in Sleepy Hollow in the graveyard there, and I talked about mud fossils and stuff and the origin of tombstones and things of that nature. And standing stones and stuff like that, right? This is not a grave. We can look at it. We know what it is. We know what this is just as much as we know what this is, don't we? Right? This is not a grave. This is a house. This is a covering, okay? This is not a tomb, right? What kind of tomb is this? Isn't a tomb. Like this just pillars and a roof, right? Like anybody could walk up here. That's what they always say. If you type dolmen into Wikipedia or Google or whatever, anywhere pretty much, it's going to tell you, oh yeah, grave markers. And then it will try to get a little into the fringe of things, and it'll suggest like some people think they might be graves of giants because the word translates into giant bed. And so some people are actually trying to say that this is a bed. Okay? This is a bed for giants. I'm sorry. The ground would be much more comfortable to sleep on and than the rock, right? Why does it? I don't even get that. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. Perhaps, giants slept on these sometimes. However, I say it's way more probable that this up here is a flat roof structure, flat looking roof looking thing, because that's exactly what it is. It's a roof, and these are the support structure for the roof. This is to keep people safe from, the elements or rain or whatever it may be, the sun, like that's pretty much what that is. And do you see any trees in this picture? Okay, maybe a couple tiny ones behind me, like you could barely, maybe they're bushes. I don't know what those are. But these dolmen, according to my research, I always see them like out in places where there's actually not a lot of trees and stuff. Not always. But look at that. It's out in the middle of nowhere. And we've got this sort of housing structure here. And it just happens to fit the size of human beings perfectly, right? And they're trying to tell you, oh, it's grave sites because there have been found some skeletons in the area or whatever. Nah, I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. I'm totally not buying it. People have been put in the ground forever. Okay, they've either been set on fire when they've left the body. They've been set on fire, or they've been put in the ground. Hey, by the way, let me stop real quick. I need to announce two things, and those two things are. I posted something in the community tab for the public to read. It's basically next Plasma Apocalypse Thursday, not this one, but next one. I'm going to be talking about the plasma apocalypse in music. I'm going to talk about the music industry and how a lot of people seem to know about the plasma apocalypse. So if you have a song that's about the plasma apocalypse or, related to it, please go to the community tab and share the song. And if you can, post the lyrics too. And maybe I'll share that too. Also, the Circuits of Time are open. I've got Skype open right now. So if you're a member of the Circuits of Time, it says I've been signed out. Well, there goes that. Let me sign back in. Jeez, everything's going crazy today. It's insane. Something went wrong. Of course it did. Great. Close that out. Whoop. For your security, you've been signed out. Sign back in. Why have I been signed out? And why are people messing with my security? I can secure myself. I just want to tell that to the computer world out there. Well, it won't even let me sign in. This is weird. One moment. There's a problem with your Microsoft account. To fix this, sign in to account.live.com from a browser. Okay, well, let's fix that real quick. This is super. Hold on one second. Sorry. What was it? Account.live.com? Is that it? Yep, that was it. Okay, cool. Boom. Recover my... You know what? Man, I want people to be able to call in. Why is it doing this? Recover my password? What is all this? All right, you know what? I'm going to fix this in my own time because I don't want to take you guys' time away from the show. So, I apologize for that. I thought it was all set up and ready to go. Apparently, everything is broken today. But that's totally fine. We hit that in stride and we push right on, right? Here's what I have found. The closer people start getting to some of the truth of things, right? The more it starts to resonate, especially with other people, the more things start to act a little weird and gremlins start getting into stuff and weird stuff starts happening and vibes get all crazy. But I'm fighting those with good vibes. Colin Freestone, hey, welcome, says JayDreamerZ. If I could fall into the sky, do you think time would pass me by? Oh, that's a quote. That actually sounds familiar. All right, so let's check out some more of these dolmen. There's another great example, right? That's not a grave of any type, nor is it a tomb of any type. There would be, if it was a tomb, there would be like a casket or something, right? Or you could just dig down there and see if there's bodies, but they never seem to do that, right? I was watching Ancient Aliens and they were at Karnak, and they're like, some people think that these are the graves of the ancient giants, and I'm like, well, get out a little dealio, and scan that thing, because I know we can have ground penetrating radar, or grab a shovel and dig, 15, 20 feet and see if you find a body. It's as easy as that. Oh no, it's a special site. It's off limits. Well, come on then. Give me a break. Anyway, check this one out. This is a house, okay? This is not a tomb. This is a house. It's a gigantic house. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this, aside from, like, look at that. Tomb. Sorry, that's not a tomb whatsoever. This was built purposefully as a little house. Like, we've all been children. We've all made stuff like this with Legos or blocks or Tinker Toys or Lincoln Logs or whatever you used a long time ago, right? You made stuff like this, and it was little makeshift houses, okay? This is exactly... Hey, thanks, Basics Phyllis. She said, let's keep the good vibes going. Hey, where's my alerts? Isn't there an alert? There's no alert? Oh my goodness. How are there no alerts? Oh, there's an alert. Oh, there it is. I'm just late. That's all. I'm early. See? Okay, so thank you. Definitely keep the good vibes going. Anyhow, my point is, this is a house. We all know what a house looks like. This is some sort of protective structure. Now, the question is, who made the house? Right? Were these houses made by hundreds upon hundreds of the tribal elders getting together and ropes and pulleys and all this stuff that we always try to come up with these crazy ways that they must have done it a long time ago because they didn't have access to the type of knowledge we have today, and they didn't have access to the type of tools we had today. They had access to gigantic beings of immense size called giants and titans as we go further along there. Not only that, but I also wanted to point this out. I talk about this a lot during the Plasma Apocalypse section. I'm really uncomfortable. Like, I need to fix my little setup here. Like, it's all crazy looking. And my skin tone is not, I don't think this is my real skin tone. I look way tan right now. I don't know why. I look orange. All right, I'll fix all that. Anyway, so here's the thing. Not only did they have access to gigantic beings, okay, of immense size, but those survivors of the plasma apocalypse, as I've speculated on, possibly could basically inherit super strength if the conditions of our world change and the electromagnetics of our world change, lessening and weakening the alleged gravitational force or the electromagnetic force. Then our muscles basically would have been in tune and strengthened in a world that's much heavier, which makes you much stronger when you go into a world that's not as heavy anymore, giving you essentially superhuman strength. Now, let's think about the Flintstones. Do we have any characters in that show that have or seem to have superhuman strength? Yes, we do. I'm going to take a quick break because my dog is barking at the door. So I'll be right back. Let's see. What can I do in the meantime? I can't do anything. I'm sorry. It's a brand new screen. I don't have a be right back screen. I'll be right back though. 30 seconds. Okay. Don't you just love how unorthodox I am? I'm so unorthodox. Like, anything could happen. I'm so sorry. All right, anyways, where was I? Let's pick back up here. Oh, yeah, basically. Oh, hey, Semyaza got it right away. Totally Bam Bam. Bam Bam is this kid with superhuman strength. At least in comparison to the rest of Bedrock, right? And nobody knows where Bam Bam comes from. It's not like he was born by Wilma and Barney. That's not their biological child. He was basically dropped off on their doorstep. I don't know if you guys kept up with, all the drama of what's happening in Bedrock. But yeah, this kid could have came from anywhere. So let me tell you where I think Bam Bam came from. I believe that Bam Bam was born before the cataclysm had happened, before the plasma apocalypse, basically. He was born in our world today. The reason that he's still young and a toddler is because once you and I survive through the plasma apocalypse, our lives become extended, basically. Our aging process slows down significantly. So Bam Bam may be a toddler, but could possibly be older than Fred Flintstone or his mother or his father, Wilma or Barney and Betty Rubble, right? But anyhow, if that's true, then he would have grown up, and he would have his muscles would have developed in this world under this type of gravitational pull or electromagnetics or whatever you want to call it, the weight system of this world. So anyway, that's just a theory that I'm working on there, but I like it a lot. Check this out. This is a pretty big one right here. That's a pretty tall one. All right. I'm pretty certain giants built this. All right. And there are a lot of legends that talk about how these things are associated with the giants, but typically they're like the giants' beds or the giants' graves or something like that. I'm sorry, but I'm not too sure the giants themselves, right? I don't know if they were, I don't know if people made special gigantic coffins for them with little human-sized doorways and little windows and stuff like that. I don't know about that. That seems to me like these are houses, okay? They've got doors, they've got windows, they've got protection. Now, who built these? I believe that what happens after the plasma apocalypse, right, is that the beings who are born into that world start to grow. They start to get bigger and bigger and bigger. All life begins to grow. Plant life begins to grow. Animal life begins to grow. People life begins to grow, right? So everything is getting much bigger after the plasma apocalypse. And those of us who survive into the plasma apocalypse, we don't grow as big. We may grow a little bit, but for the most part, for example, my body right now, it's kind of been told like, okay, you've reached your maximum height. Like you're kind of done growing at this point, I've become accustomed to my surroundings. I've become accustomed to the world that I live in under the pressure that's on me right now, and the chemicals and the lack of oxygen and all these things have told my body, okay, it's time for you to stop. Like you have reached your height, basically, right? But after the plasma apocalypse, when our world depressurizes, there won't be all this weight weighing down on us or this pressure pressurizing us or a lack of oxygen or any of these things. Actually, all those things will be the reverse, which will encourage gigantic growth of all these people. What that means is, let's say that I survive into the plasma apocalypse, right? And let's say Jenny and I have a baby, we conceive a baby together after the plasma apocalypse. That baby is not used to the conditions of this world that I grew up in. It's going to be used to the new conditions of the new world, depressurized, more oxygen, and other factors that play into gigantic growth. That baby and its progeny are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger to a certain point in time, to a maximum point, right? And they are going to become the giants and titans of the next age, of the new age, I should say. And so let's just say I have a grandchild after the plasma apocalypse, right? And the grandchild grows up to be like 30, 40 feet tall, or large, I should say, not just tall, but large, right? Big. Well, it makes sense that if there's nothing out and I live in the plains of some crazy random place, right? And we're foraging or we're trying to find shelter or something, it makes sense possibly that my grandchild, who's probably lumbering along with us trying to help out as best as he can, is going to help me to build a structure to live in so that my family, our family, can have a safe place, can be protected from the elements, or possibly be protected from phantazoids, that are out roaming the wilderness like cheetahs on the Sahara or whatever. I don't know if cheetahs live in the Sahara, but you know what I mean. Let's see here. Joseph Borg says Bam Bam is a Nephilim. Okay, that's pretty interesting. It's a song. Okay, cool. I got you. All right, let's check out some more of these dolmen. This one clearly is like a hut. It even has like little archways for the entrance and stuff. This has nothing to do with graves or anything or tombs. Look at this one. It's an elongated one. And a lot of these actually I've found in my research are very elongated like this. Why? Because they're houses. That's what these are. Right? You don't need a big old long crazy thing to bury a person in or whatever. No, I'm sorry. And then this is what they always try to say. They try to say that the plane of jars, remember when I did my plane of jars episode? These huge, gigantic, megalithic jars all over, what was it, like Cambodia or something? Somewhere around there, right? In the island areas of like Thailand, Cambodia, all that stuff. Wherever that is. I forgot what that general region's called, but you know what I'm talking about. They have this area called the Plain of Jars. Gigantic stone jars everywhere. People were inside of them, and I shared all that with everyone, right? They tried to say that those jars are also cremation jars for prominent individuals a long time ago. These just random jars all over strewn across the plains. Why are they always trying to say that these megalithic gigantic structures are to put dead people in? I don't even understand where that comes from. Like, are you finding a bunch of dead people in those jars? Are you finding a bunch of dead people in these dolems? Not from my research. Not at all. Actually, my research indicates that there is no evidence to support that theory whatsoever. And yet, that's the theory that is pushed. They don't want to talk about giants. They don't want to let you know about the plasma apocalypse, the cyclical world reset, the existence of titans, our world growing in size and then shrinking in size and then growing in size. They just want to leave hints about it because they have their secrets. Look at this one. This one's actually pretty nice. That's a pretty good one right there. They spent some time on that one. Maybe they had a couple of giants to help them out, right? But nonetheless, people always wonder, like, how did ancient man make these types of structures? One must think it took many pulleys and lots of brute force. No, man, it took like a giant and a weakened gravitational pull and a world that is inundated with not just plasma, but mud, which turns into clay, right? So these stones, these rocks, and many rocks and stones all over the place, were not always rocks and stones. Many of them, I believe, were mud. And over time, they baked, they hardened, right? Or they got zapped by the plasma and instantly hardened, right? Or there was technology that they used in a world inundated with plasma where they understood how to form clay and mud into whatever shape they wanted and then zap it and petrify it. It's super easy. Like, if you understand what you're doing and you understand how it works and under the right conditions, it could be totally easy. But our problem is an error in thinking. We always apply the world that we live in, our surroundings, our muscles, our atmosphere, our conditions that we live in today, and we force that upon ancient man. And then we don't give any respect whatsoever to ancient man, basically insulting ancient man and woman, saying that they didn't have any intellect and that they were basically dumb and they had to invent the wheel and all this. Pfft, dude, the wheel it's always invented. It's always been around. All right. Anyway, let's get to this definition. Dolmen. A megalithic tomb with a large flat stone laid on upright ones, found chiefly in Britain and France. Well, if it's a tomb, why is it always a large flat stone on top? Right? Like, I've seen tombs where the top is not, the roof isn't flat always. You know, a lot of times they're domed tombs, right? It's flat because it's a roof. And it's usually flat at just a slight angle because they want the water to roll off of it or whatever it is. It's a roof, man. Like, that's the simplest explanation for that. Hey, sorry if I missed anybody. I don't think I missed anybody in the chat, right? If you, I was going to say if you want to call in, you can't, but that's broken right now. So I'm going to have to get that fixed after the show. All right, let's see here. Let me try to read this. This is kind of small. Let me see if I can make it big. I can't really make it big because it cuts it off. Is Mercury still in retrograde? I can't wait until that's done with. All right, let's see if I can read this to you guys. Man, this is hard to read. All right, I'm going to read it anyway. Hold on. Let me make it big. I know how to fix it. We just have to play with the dimensions here. Or maybe I don't know how to fix it. Ah, I do know how to fix it. Okay, cool. All right, so let's see here. Granja is used in Portugal. These are the words for dolmen in different countries, right? Galicia and Spain. The rarer forms, anta and ganda, also appear. In the Basque Country, they are attributed to Gentilac, a race of giants. Ooh, Gentilac, or Gentil Oak, or in Gentilot, right? And gentil is directly related, in my personal opinion, to the word gentle, right? They're going to tell you it's related to the word gentile, which it could be, but also maybe they are gentle giants. Maybe they're big, friendly giants. Maybe not all the giants were these mean, evil, club-wielding crushers of men, right? Maybe they were actually related to people and cared for their families. The etymology of the German, Hunenbett, Hunengrab, and Dutch, Hunebed, with Hune or Hun meaning giant, all evoke the image of giants buried. I crossed that out. Okay. Giant's bed. Why? How do you even get buried from bed? That doesn't even make sense. Like if it was a coffin or something, possibly I could see that stretch, but nah, don't even put buried in there. Stop with that. Right? The giant's bed or whatever. Other Celtic languages, Welk, we've got Cromlech, was borrowed into English, Coit, etc. Anyway, my point there for showing this is that they are directly related to giants, even etymologically speaking, okay? These have something to do with literal giants walking around our world. Now, I think that the reason they have little human-sized holes for like doors and windows and stuff is because this is exactly what they are. They're just ancient houses. That's all, right? They were made, and look at, see how it's got like the circles in there? So many people are like, oh man, what kind of laser technology did the aliens bring, you know, or yes, possibly, but hey, possibly that didn't always used to be solid rock, right? What if it was just not always solid rock? What if it was like clay or muddy type material, right? And then they just formed it and then they hardened it. It seems pretty simple to me. I'm not discounting the alien laser theory, okay? I'm just saying, it seems like we're overthinking sometimes. Here's some other ones. Let me make this a little smaller now because now it looks weird. Hold on. There we go. Is that better? Man, this is all crazy today. Like everything's messed up. The software program that I use is just like on the fritz, and they're trying to change it to update it and make it look better or whatever they're doing. All right, so here we go. Here's some more dolems. These are literally houses, okay? Like, I feel like sometimes we go a little too deep into like, wow, what could that possibly be? Like, I think that at one point in time, there was probably a nobleman, and this nobleman died out in the middle of the plains where nothing really was. And instead of just putting him in the ground and marking it, they made like this rock house for him to put the body in, to keep it. I don't know. Like, I could see it as a possibility, but I'm not buying it, man. This stuff all dates back to more than just the dolems. It dates back to a time of stone. The Stone Age. The Age of Stone. We don't just call it the Age of Stone or the Stone Age because the cavemen used stone hammers to hammer things and stone clubs to club their women and drag them by the hair back into the cave to take wives. I'm sorry, man, but I don't follow any of that academic types of teaching, okay? This right here, this is in Petra. You may notice it, you may remember it from like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, right? These types of things people wonder at, like, oh, how was that made? Oh my God, that would take forever because of the technology that they had or didn't have, etc. What if that's not the case? What if that entire whole wall you see there of solid rock was not always solid rock? What if this whole wall was like malleable clay at one point in time, and they just went in and carved it out. And maybe they had giants helping them, like literally holding them up off the ground so that they could, work their artistry or whatnot. We have to have more of an open mind. I do. That's how I've been able to figure some of these things out, that a lot of people are like, oh, it's a mystery, like nobody knows. Well, let's figure it out. We're smart enough. We just need to use our imaginations, right? Semyaza says, those houses lasted thousands of years, yet we can't get things built today to last 5 years. I know, right? Well, I mean, they don't want to build things out of rock. Let me show you. Let me share some more pictures here. Does it look to you, okay, like we would look at the dolmen, or dolmen, right? We'd look at something. Let me find a raggedy looking one here. All right, let's see. Because when they're presented to us, they're pretty raggedy looking, right? They don't actually show us any of the cool ones. Let's see here. Okay, let's look at this, right? I could go to school and, hey, I just got a donation. Lance Ward donated $2 and says metal tools possibly would have decomposed by now. Hey, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Metal tools would have decomposed. Or if you're a giant, you just slap together some mud or some clay. You just form it up real quick and let it dry, or, do whatever they did to petrify it, and boom, you've got your roof and your 2 slabs there. But the way this is portrayed, hey, by the way, thank you for your donation. I appreciate you. $2 definitely is going to help me to get like a slice of pizza or something when I'm hungry. So I appreciate it. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So academia would basically say, that it would take a lot of prehistoric men to try to rig together a pulley system and try to, they're basically talking about cavemen. They're talking about prehistoric man, which they convey is stupid and didn't have intelligence and didn't have knowledge of the arts and knowledge of advanced mathematics and knowledge of mechanics and knowledge of architectural design. Does it look like a caveman made this? Does it look like a caveman made this? Does it look like a caveman made this? Or that? That's a caveman skyscraper. Okay? Like, please don't try to convince me or children or anybody else that ancient man was stupid, lacking knowledge, lacking information, any of that, okay? These are huge rock megalithic structures that were made because people were intelligent. People did have access to the things that we have today. They just didn't have access to the same things that we have today. They may not have had access to like certain tools, like Lance was just talking about, like the metal tools. They would have decomposed, disintegrated, right? They had access to different things. And they used what was available to them. These are testaments to ancient men and women. These things show us that the quote-unquote cavemen were not as stupid and dumb and out of the loop and, all that stuff, the way it's presented to us. I don't believe it whatsoever. The Flintstones are a perfect example of that. Albeit, yeah, they're a cartoon. Yeah, they, but it's not just a cartoon. Like I said, nothing is ever just anything. I feel like the world simplifies the most important breadcrumbs and puzzle pieces to our past all too often. They always simplify it. Oh, it's just a cartoon. Oh, it's just a movie. You can't learn anything from a movie. Oh, you got that from YouTube. You can't learn anything from YouTube. Okay. All right. I disagree. I'm completely biased, but yeah, I totally disagree. You can learn anything from anything. That's my philosophy. All right, let me check my notes here. I want to make sure I got everything covered. We talked about cavemen using natural resources to salvage leftover technology, or to try to make the inventions that they were used to work. Once again, they try to bring it back to life once again. Essentially, they were steampunk survivors without the steam. Dinosaurs. Oh, by the way, I should probably clarify. A lot of people out there, some people have different concepts of like when steampunk is supposed to be from and what steampunk is. For me, I did a whole video about it. It's in the Plasma Apocalypse section. So check out Steampunk Survivors and the Plasma Apocalypse, or whatever I named it. I forgot what the title was. But it definitely says Steampunk Survivors. And basically what that is our technology gets sucked right up into the air, shoots right out of the dome, out into quote-unquote space, just like in Spaceballs when they have the giant vacuum maid out there or whatever, she's sucking out their atmosphere. Yeah, our world depressurizes and gravity, as it's been taught to us, basically ceases to exist for a little while as we go through the neutral point of the polar shift or the polarity shift. Then things get sucked up into the sky, including most of our technology, right? However, not all of it does, and some stuff falls back down. Some mechanical things that are probably going to break when they hit the ground and stuff. Some technological things are going to hit the ground. Some things may still be left over and still be working. And if they're electronic, they'll probably be fully alive and fully on and maybe even sentient because they're full of endoplasm or spirit. But anyhow, people will go through that mess. They'll go through this junkyard world that it will turn into. This isn't supposed to be a Plasma Apocalypse day, but it's absolutely related to Ancient Oblivion, so I don't mind talking about it. All right, what else do we have here? Dinosaurs. I didn't really mention dinosaurs. Okay, so let me talk about dinosaurs because the dinosaurs are definitely in the Flintstones as well. It is my theory that there was ancient beasts of old in various forms. I don't feel like they have put together the remnants, aka the bones and skeletons of these things accurately all the time. Okay? I feel like they have missed some things, skipped some steps, okay? And when it comes to finding ancient gigantic bones, first of all, they do not publicly display the ancient gigantic bones of ancient giant humanoids. Not because they didn't exist, not because they don't exist, but they don't want that particular part of the story revealed. They also don't want the ancient gigantic monsters, known that I call affectionately the Phantazoids. They don't want them talked about either for some interesting reason. But they do make up the story about dinosaurs, right? I've talked a lot about that. I've got theories on that due to the word "saur" in dinosaur. And I've broken that down on many videos in the past. And I believe I actually did Dinosaurs, a Mud Fossil Cover-Up. One of my older videos as well. Pretty good theory there. But yeah, I pretty much believe that dinosaurs are phantazoids. And that's why you see so many of these dinosaur bones or whatever. I'm not saying they're all real either. I know they fake a lot of the dinosaur bones and stuff. Pretty much every museum is not real, not a real authentic bone whatsoever. It's fake. I know that, but I'm not discounting it, nor will I throw the baby out with the bathwater and say that there are no ancient bones being dug up of giant creatures. Unlearn the System says, JayDreamerZ, have you looked into Count of Saint Germain? No, I haven't. Let me know what that's about. The Count of Saint Germain. All right, let's see here. What else? Let me just check the notes. Oh, okay, so Bedrock, that's where the Flintstones live. Interesting, because they live on bedrock, right? And what have I been saying about, hey, if you want to survive the Plasma Apocalypse and you don't want to get sucked under, because, okay, whatever isn't tied down to the earth or inside of it is most likely going to get sucked up into the sky during a gigantic world storm. But the inverse is also a danger, getting sucked down. Just like in the fire swamp, remember that from The Princess Bride, how they had like the quicksand basically? That's due to liquefaction of the ground, and there will be worldwide earthquakes shaking the entire world, different regions at a time, and it's going to shake so much that all of the water that is under the quote-unquote crust of our world is going to rise up and mix with the quote-unquote crust of the world. And I love using quotes. I love using rhetorical or sarcastic quotes. I love it. Anyway. Yeah, the water's going to go up, it's going to mix with the dirt and stuff, and it's going to turn a lot of our world into quicksand, which is actually how it was described that the ancient titans of old during the last cataclysm died. They sank into the water, or they sank into the ground. They literally went down into the inner earth, sinking down into the inner earth. So, one way to avoid that is to build your house upon rock, as Jesus instructed. Okay? Whether or not you believe in all of that, it's still good advice. Build your house upon the rock. Because if you don't build your house upon bedrock, you're probably going to build your house upon future quicksand and sink into the earth. And the Flintstones, I believe, are plasma apocalypse survivors, or at least a post-apocalyptic survival community, right? And the reason they're even there is because they live on bedrock. Anyway, they live in bedrock. That's the town. Cobblestone County. That's the county they live in. Now check this out. Bedrock in the cartoon is 250 feet below sea level. Why did that have to be a thing at all? Like, why did that need to be a significant? Nobody knows that, okay? But I found that out, and for some reason the writers wanted it to make bedrock 250 feet below sea level. You know, give or take, approximately. Why? Why did it have to be that far down below sea level? That's interesting to me. Could it be because there was no ocean? Maybe. That's a part of the plasma apocalypse too. Could it be because the geography has changed significantly? Could it be because they're living on the bedrock, right? It's the safest place. Anyhow, I thought that was interesting. We talked about Bam Bam being the kid who is probably a survivor of our world today, a toddler who went into the new age and basically took with him his super strength. Just like, what's that movie where the kid gets zapped into Mars? What's that guy? Something of Mars. John Carter. Yeah. Just like John Carter. The moment he went from the blue world, Earth, to the red world, Mars, right? All of a sudden he had super strength. Why is that? Because the gravitational pull was different. Because the environmental conditions were different. He wasn't really super strong. On his world, he was normal. Just like Superman was normal on his world until he came into our world. Like this is something that's been pretty much put in our face a lot, and I've just picked up on it. All right, what else we got here? Oh, then we talked about the water buffalo and the secret society of the Flintstones, right? Because they're the keepers of the secret. That's what that is. They're all in on it, man. And they got all these rich people. Man, if you have ever seen the Flintstones, they put a lot of super rich Illuminati type, like mega rich characters into the show for some strange reason, right? We talked about the dolmens, which are what you're looking at right here behind me. The dolmen is, in my humble opinion, not a grave, not a tomb whatsoever. It's a house. I mean, it's pretty simple. It looks like a house. It walks like a house. It quacks like a house. It's a house. What else? They're not a grave. They're not a tomb. There's little to zero evidence at all of these claims. And they don't even like try to go off into like other tangents or other possibilities. The only thing I've ever found in my studies is like, well, it's either the bed of giants, because giants had to sleep off the ground for some reason, right? Or it's a grave. It's a special tomb grave marker area. It doesn't sound right to me. Does that sound right to anybody? That doesn't sound right to me. Let's see. We talked about, could they be houses built by giants for their grandparents who survived the plasma apocalypse? Just because they're simple structures made of rock does not mean, or does that mean that we attribute them to unintelligent cavemen, right? Ancient men using a pulley system and rope and, come on, stop. Let's see. Let's look at more housing areas made of rock from ancient times. Well, that's when I was showing you guys all the rock temples, right? Or the stone temples, which reminds me of my next little thing here. Do we attribute these to beings with an uneducated caveman mentality? Mud, clay, giants, super strength. Sounds fantastic. I love it because it is fantastic. Stone temples. That's the last thing I want to hit on, right? I looked up, let me bring back the pictures here because I want to go back because the pictures kind of go with it. But let's check out these stone temples. It reminded me that there is a band called the Stone Temple Pilots. And I went, and I stopped and I was like, wait a minute, Stone Temple Pilots? Wait, Google this. Like, how did they come up with the band name Stone Temple Pilots? And this is exactly why next weekend, or next Thursday, not this Thursday, but next Thursday, I'm going to be talking about the plasma apocalypse in music, right? Stone Temple Pilots. Okay, well, here's a stone temple, right? Here's a stone temple. We don't associate aircraft with these stone temples usually, right? So what is a stone temple pilot? Let me tell you something as well. This is interesting. I looked up how the band got their name. I don't ever believe what they say. I don't ever believe the official story like, oh, we just got our name because it just kind of, I just looked over to my right and I just saw a rock. And so I was like, hey. No, I don't believe any of those stories at all. I'm sorry. The stone temples are built either by the bipedal phantazoids, aka aliens that come down into our world, whatever you want to call them, or by us who have survived, and we take our knowledge of today's modern technology into a world of the Stone Age, or the Age of Stone. So the Stone Temple pilots are basically referring to either otherworldly beings, or it's a direct reference to survivors of the plasma apocalypse. Either way, they're trying to say, here's what they're trying to say about the band Stone Temple Pilots and where they got their name. They're trying to say they liked the oil product STP. I forgot what that stands for in the oil world or whatever, but like oil you put into your car, it says STP on it. And they're like, wow, that's awesome. We should get those same letters and name our band something that has those same letters so that we can be STP too. That's the stupidest explanation for how you named your band. I'm sorry. I don't believe it. I just don't. I know why you named your band that, because I went and I looked up the lyrics to many of your songs and you're talking about the plasma apocalypse. So yeah, I don't buy that. Imagine Dragons. I'm looking at you. All right, anyways, that's pretty much all I had for today. So, does anybody in the chat have anything for me? Let's see. Unlearn the System says, JayDreamerZ, have you looked into... Oh, I already read that one. The Count of Saint Germain. No, I don't know who that is. Semyaza says, JayDreamerZ, STP, standard temperature and pressure. Ooh, I like that. That makes more sense than naming your band after an oil can. Oil can. He hates these cans. Wow, that was like 2 movie quotes in a row. That's pretty cool. All right, so I think that's going to be it for me today. I'm sorry about the call-in feature not working. I don't know what Skype's doing. I'm going to get all this fixed up here pretty soon. Hopefully everything will be up and running next week or even in the next couple of days. So what did we talk about today? We talked about the Flintstones and how it's basically a true story. And we talked about surviving the plasma apocalypse and how that's going to look as far as us being the future cavemen. We talked about where giants come from, and we talked about where titans come from and how that is a very realistic possibility, right? They didn't just fall out of the sky one day. Or, I mean, hey, I'm not declining that as an option, but we talked about all of these things, and we are especially hitting home on 2 things. One, this was not done by unintelligent ancient man, caveman. Okay. 2, dolems, those Flintstone houses, that's exactly what they are. They're Flintstone houses. They're houses built to protect people. All right. With that being said, we ask ourselves, where will we grow from here? Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye. Thanks for watching.